My name's Chris. At my school, I go by Coach Chris. Mr. and Mrs. don't work anymore. I'm a special ed math teacher at a Robbinsdale school district, which is like my school is like a mile outside of North Minneapolis. Most of our about half of our students come from Minneapolis, but I live in the south side of
Recording
Minneapolis,
in
about
progress.
a half mile away from where Renee Good was murdered. And so, I don't want to bury the lead. So there has been the calls for no work, no shopping, and no school on January 23rd. Those calls are not just put out by isolated people or small, left groups. Those calls have been put out by major unions and organizations in the city, along with anarchists, socialists, everybody who wants to support this should be there and do it. The key point we want to get across to start is that what's happening in Minneapolis is not about Minneapolis. This is about crushing resistance to divide and rule tactics. I think, and what's happening in Minneapolis, like a defeat in Minneapolis makes it harder to win victories elsewhere. And a victory in Minneapolis could be the beginning of a movement that doesn't just stop Trump, which has a lot of terrible things right now, but just like rolls back this billionaire capitalist agenda fundamentally. And I think, that to me is something we want to talk to people about, that the attacks on immigrants now will be attacks on union activists later. They'll say, oh, you're a criminal. Send people to go get them. Same thing with trans people. It's just, they label you a criminal, and Fox News gets going, and then you're cooked. If you went into the rapid response groups that Lydia was describing, you would find hundreds of union members, but there's not a lot of experience acting as a class, doing things together to shut down production. That's new to people still. And so I think we want to make the case that this is the tool, this is the strongest tool we have. The whistles, yes. Protesting, yes. I was part of we chased away ICE in the north side a couple nights ago. You have to hit them where it hurts, and that's the pocketbooks. And no one's going to do that but the working class. The Democratic Party is not going to do that in the Senate. They're parts of the billionaire class. They represent their agenda. I think we really need to lay that point out. On the 23rd, I think first and foremost, in my opinion, I think being a socialist helps. I think people, if you're like, I am in this fight for the long haul. This is not just about immigration. This is about a lot of things that I'm upset with. They're all connected. We need to overthrow all of it. You might be a socialist. You should think about joining. I think the union members against ICE, there's a lot of workers who should be signing that, and those that don't sign it, we should be having discussions with them about why this is a threat for a whole labor movement, just like we'd be having discussions with them about sexism, racism, and any other threat to the labor movement as a whole. The last thing I'll just say is on the 23rd, I think get linked up with some of the actions that are in the chat. If there's not one, organize one. Go to I'm blanking on the hotel right now, but there's national hotel chains are housing people. Go picket the hotel chain. ICE has rented all of the cars from Enterprise in Minneapolis. Can't rent a car right now. The Hilton. Go to the Hilton. Everywhere there's a Hilton. Go to Enterprise rental cars. Picket them. Say, hey, you're the cars that you rent out, they're the ones carrying immigrants to deport. Not even immigrants sometimes, brown people to camps. That's what this is. I think, I think there's a lot we can do. And I think if we don't do it, it's not going to get any easier anytime soon. What I have seen, and this, I'll wrap up here, like general strikes, big protests. Let's just step back from the general strike idea for a second. A whole city organized in rapid response groups who show up to deportations after a few minutes notice when it's 0 degrees. That is something that didn't exist until the movement demanded it had to exist, and then working people did it. But it's something that you couldn't have planned and couldn't have convinced people to do on a one-by-one basis over the last 5 years. There was a crisis and people stepped up to respond to the crisis. But now Trump is doubling down. The tactics have gotten worse. There's reports that there's like paratroopers coming in from Alaska, whatever that means. There's already 3 times as many ICE agents as cops in the city. So I think now the movement has new challenges in front of it and new demands, that the only way to push back against that is through mass collective action that hits the bosses where it hurts, you have to shut down the flow of profits to get them to back down. And I think like people were raising, well, like, what does that mean after that? If we do that, how do we pay our bills, et cetera? A general strike isn't just a thing to do to fight. A general strike, when we shut down the whole economy, we still need to run society as working people. If I shut down the school, kids still need to get educated. If we shut down the hospitals, people still are sick. If we shut down construction, people still need to build stuff. And so a general strike is the beginning of building a fundamentally new society. When we take power away from the bosses through a mass strike action, that is the embryo of a socialist society, where then we start to decide, how do we run our society in our own interests? And that's not like a lofty socialist idea. That's practically speaking how revolutions have happened in the past. First, you fight, you shut down their method of production, the old oppressor's method of production, and then a new world is born. Thank you.